I lived in the northern part of Sakha or Yakutia, Russia for around 10 years, and I've encountered a lot of weird shit there. I'll start with some context. B13 Dad and Mom break up because Dad is abusive. Mom loses court case and Dad gains custody. After divorce, Dad changes and starts seeing weirdos for life advice. Some guy tells him that he needs cut himself from society to awaken his third eye or some shit. So we move from Sankt Peterburg to motherfucking City 5.
Город 5.
A town so fucking secluded it didn't have a name. Life as you'd expect was fucking shit and boring. The schools there don't even teach English, the official Yakut language, or even basic sciences. The locals are cool though. So on to the paranormal stuff. I'll start off with the creepiest one. I've personally never encountered it. In fact, I've only known 3 people who claim they have. But the whole of City 5 is scared of it. We call it the Flat Man. It's said to appear in some of the most rural areas of the region. The best way I could describe is to compare to a living shadow. But it's more like a void in the shape of a human on the floor. Its shape cannot appear on trees or buildings, only the ground. Apparently the Flat Man has made entire tribes of people disappear. In 1989 a group of around 10 people went to hunt it. 2 months later clothing started to wash up in the local river. It was their clothing. Apart from being wet, the clothing wasn't damaged. The next night screaming could be heard outside the town. Another time some guy was hunting deer. He spotted a deer, but it seemed to have its leg stuck in something. When he got closer he could see the Flat Man holding the deer's leg. It then started making a pulling motion. You know what happens when something is pulled through a tiny hole? Well, that is what basically happened to the deer. Not a trace of the deer left. Hunter instantly runs as far away as he can. I have a classmate. Let's call him Igor. Igor's dad has encountered the Flat Man at one point. Be him. 1992. He works for a small woodcutting business. Patches of forest are valuable in Yakutia, so if your boss tell you to go you can't object. So he's at the spot and he comes across uprooted trees in the shape of a spiral. He tries to GTFO, but keeps coming back at the spiral. Notices that the other trees are still bending. Starts feeling weird sensation. His own body is swayed towards the spiral. The pull gets so strong that he has to push himself off trees to move. Then suddenly all the uprooted trees get sucked up into the ground. The force of the pull is so strong it breaks one of his arms. He looks over and there's a massive fucking hole where the spiral was. In the hole he can make out the Flat Man. He starts moving in a swimming motion. See, the Flat Man is called that instead of like Shadow Man because he doesn't move like one. When you turn, your shadow changes shape to reflect that. But the Flat can't do that. He can't move his arm through his chest. So he moves in this weird swimming motion. Igor's dad starts running and Flat Man gives chase. The Flat Man can fuck with shadows. Every time a shadow of a tree gets in his way, he kinda swats it away and the entire tree breaks. He makes it to his car and manages to lose it. Me and a few friends actually managed to stumble onto the crater. And surely enough, it was in the shape of a spiral. It was overgrown. The entire time we were near it everything felt floaty. And we couldn't feel, smell or taste. And the last guy I know of that encountered the Flat Man died in 2006. But someone told his story. Apparently he was a hermit and lived away from the town. One day he noticed the land had risen slightly and messed with the foundation of the house, which was like the one in the pic. It keeps rising, so he gets a guy to take a look at it. Dude sees it and tells him to leave immediately. Hermit is stuck up, so he stays. He awakes to half of his house missing and a giant pillar in the sky. Some locals saw the pillar in the sky. A few of the braver ones go check it out. They find the guy. He's out cold. Guy's legs are missing. Said his legs were so cleanly cut they weren't even bleeding. They get the guy and drive away. Few minutes later, pillar goes back down. Hermit wakes up. Says the Flat Man grabbed the shadow of his legs and just took them off before he passed out. never went to the location. Because he genuinely lived in a scary as fuck place full of bears and wolves. The flat man is the creepiest one by far. Nomads cover their ears if you bring him up or straight up start a fight with you. Some of the more integrated nomads tell tales of how ancient tribes tried their hardest to eradicate it and went missing. He's the only thing that no one dares to fuck with. People don't like talking about him.
Be me, 15. 2 years after moving in, me and Dad are having breakfast and get a knock at the door. Open it. Guy standing there looks almost identical to Pick. Tips his hat and introduces himself as Ivan Ivanovich, basically the John Smith of Russia. This happened in 2009, so the guy is very out of place. Dad, being the understanding gentleman that he is, tells him, "What do you fucking want?" Instantly get this sinking feeling in stomach. Dad's speech becomes 10x more polite. Ivan says that he is the governmental representative of City 5. He's responsible for tax collection, solving judicial problems, and keeping the peace. Starts telling us about how the town works. I think to myself, I know this stuff. He instantly stops talking and excuses himself. Ivan leaves and we both sit there dumbfounded for a bit. Me and Dad are bringing firewood back home and visit a market. While there, Ivan taps my dad's shoulder. Everybody instantly quiets down. Ivan and Dad start talking. From what I could tell, Dad did some dumb shit and a few townsfolk were mad. Dad instantly starts spurging out. Then he shuts up. A local comes by and defends my dad. Ivan then says, "If you continue your unacceptable behavior, there will be consequences. Understand?" Then I get the sudden urge to nod. Everyone around Ivan, even people who weren't looking at him, nod. Ivan goes around a corner and he is fucking gone. Ivan does so much creepy shit. On many occasions I've seen him just appear out from dark alleyways or rooms. Anyone who fucks with Ivan just disappears. Anytime I talk to Ivan, it's like half the shit I say I don't even think about. I've heard a story that some nomad got drunk and started stabbing random people. So Ivan just came into the bar and the guy just shuts down and dies. Everybody feels the urge to leave, and when it stops, they instantly come back. Both Ivan and the nomad are gone. I remember I once got drunk and ended up sleeping in some guy's property. Rumors about me start spreading around the community. It's evening and I'm reading a book. Enjoying your read? Then, fucking Ivan comes out of the darkness. It scares the shit out of me, but a soothing sensation quickly kicks. Ivan starts to literally interrogate me, asks really personal questions about life and family. I answer with as much detail as possible, even though I don't want to. Ivan eventually concludes this chat, walks into the darkness and disappears. Ivan's creepy-ass face and voice still give me shivers.
How did you get out of the zone?
Keck, I hope you're not asking that seriously. Sorry for not posting yesterday, was really busy. First, I think should explain more about the nomads. The nomads are basically tribes of nomadic horsemen that split off from the main Yakut societies. Their language is very hard to understand, but some nomads have integrated into Russian society and translate for us. They believe some sort of pagan religion. From what I've been told, they believe in 5 gods. The gods are named after the cardinal directions. North, Caed, god of wind and everything to do with the cold. South, Omniad, god of fertility and nature. East, Zun, god of the hunt and a trickster. West, Varun, god of guns and death. Tengri is taken from Tengrism and is basically the All-Father. There's also Khazar, which I'll be telling a story about. Be me, 2012. Dad goes out for a drink and doesn't come back. People start telling me to go look for him. This isn't the first time this happened, so I just chilled. 2 weeks go by. A few locals found Dad's body. They request I do a proper burial. I couldn't be bothered, so I just tell them to put him 6 feet under. Next day, I'm out gathering firewood, and between the trees I see a pair of eyes staring at me. I try to get closer, but when I blink, it disappears. Then, when walking back home, I see it again on a rock. I can make out its shape. Long, skinny legs, small body and big, shinny eyes. Very similar to Pick. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was the Khazar. In legend, it's basically supposed to be an omen from the gods. If you somehow offended one of the gods, Khazar starts appearing to you. I understood that I had offended some god by not burying my father. I've lived here long enough to know not to fuck with the paranormal. So the next day I gave my father a proper Tengri burial. I stopped seeing the Khazar after that.
The Khazar appears a lot to hunters. Most hunter heed the warning and either avoid the area or bring back the catch back. There were a few stuck-ups though. One guy didn't heed the warning and had a bear break into his home and got killed. Then someone was found impaled on a deer's horn. Another was found frozen in a lake. A hunter's gun once exploded when he shot and mutilated him. And a few people were crushed by their own roof caving in on them from snow build-up. All of these people had said about being visited by the Khazar. The guy who got killed by a bear had told close friends that the Khazar's eyes become brighter over time. For him the eyes were bright enough to illuminate his whole house. Had a friend who got quite unlucky with the Khazar. Let's call him Vlad. Vlad loved to seclude himself in the wilderness, and when he had free time he would always go up north to camp. One day Vlad goes camping. Nothing goes wrong. But when he's coming back to City 5 he starts seeing the Khazar. Friend didn't kill any animal, nor do anything that would piss off the gods. So he assumed that the area he was in was off limits. But the Khazar doesn't go away. In fact he starts seeing wolves stalking him from the brush. One day while Vlad is going to work the pack of wolves attacks him. One of them latches onto his arm and starts tearing into it. He manages to hurt the wolf and that gives him enough time to escape to safety. After that wolves leave him alone. For months Vlad ponders what he could have done, but can't put his finger on it. Then one of the locals said he found Vlad's campsite. And sitting there was a single fucking beer can. Be me. Don't have much money. And a lot of shit breaks down before winter. If you know anything about northeastern Russia, you'll know that the winters are hellish. So I need money quick. There's a meat vendor that'll pay good for bison. The vendor gets a party together and we go out hunting. The party consists of me, Igor, Vlad, Andrew, Mikhail and another 5 people, but they're irrelevant since we split into 2 groups. Our group goes to a place around 50 kilometers from Chokurda. We're deep in a forest tracking some bison prints. Suddenly hear a low groan. As soon as it stops the wind picks up and it starts snowing. Snow in September isn't the weirdest thing out here, but it's not common. As time goes on wind and snowfall become stronger. Vision is so obscured you can only see around 50 meters in front of you. It's starting to get late so we start looking for a place to camp. We come up to this slope which has a great view of the area. Igor and Andrew stay to set up camp and the rest of us go gather wood. 5 minutes in we hear Igor shout which basically means holy shit. Everyone comes back and Igor is pointing at the horizon. I don't know if Igor had eagle vision, but we can't make out shit. So we tell Igor there's nothing there, continue with our day and go to sleep. Mikhail wakes me up at around 6 a.m. Dude, wake the fuck up. I get out of my tent. There is a fucking giant in the horizon. It was humanoid, but it was crooked. Skinny as hell. The arms didn't quite match. It had trees and shit growing on it. 2 of them grew in the shape of horns. I couldn't make out its features due to fog. And it made 0 fucking noise. The only reason Mikhail woke up was because hundreds of birds were perched up and flying around it. All of us GTFO and never come back. We got chewed out by our employer and had to do shitty janitor jobs. Didn't care though cause I'm not fucking with whatever that thing was. Yes. I have plenty more. Okay, so in between Silik and Balaja Gora there's a community of 5 houses. In one of these homes lives this guy we just call Khan. He has hundreds of stories. Some so out there even I couldn't believe them. He's very awkward to be around. Because all he talks about is nomad culture, hunting and shepherding. So here's a story that involved him. 2014. Andrew and Vlad have jobs in the local police. They get an assignment to check up on a patch of land that someone wants to cultivate. It sounds like a boring job, so they invite me and Andrew to camp with them. On the way we see a lot of nomad tribes moving around. When we stop by the community we ask about the tribes. They tell us that they're moving for some sort of summer solstice celebration. Before we leave they insist we take Khan with us. It was plain obvious that they just wanted to get rid of him for a few days. Begrudgingly we took him with us. The whole car ride was very awkward and boring. We finally got our spot, which was around 10 kilometers from Kuberganya. We set up and start grilling shashlik. It's a really fun evening. Even Khan got a bit laxed. Everyone goes to sleep at around 12 a.m. I wake up at 2 a.m. to fucking Khan throat singing at the top of his lungs. We were pretty drunk and ticked off, so we start telling Khan to shut the fuck up. While we're arguing, Mikhail fucking snaps and starts screaming at Khan. The argument goes on for 2 hours. After everything calms down a bit we decide to pack up and finish up here. Problem is we're nowhere near our camp. It's like we got moved to some random location. There's a thick fog that obscures anything 5 meters away. Just as bad as the one on the pic. Khan tells us we royally fucked up. Tells us that we need fire right now. Everyone scrambles for their lighters. Khan tells everyone to follow him. We think about it for a second, but realize it's probably better to follow the 2-meter tall nomad than stay out here. Khan starts leading us. While walking, Khan is singing some nomad song. And we hear a bell ring. As soon as we hear it we're all lying face down on the floor. Then hear a chirp and start throwing up water. Khan says, "It started. Listen to everything I've got to say. Make sure to check your back if you hear weird noises." As soon as he finishes his sentence there's child's giggle and all our clothes are tied together. We hear a loud pop and our fire sources become 10x brighter. Khan tells us to carry on. In the fog there are silhouettes of 4 figures watching us. First one is just some big dude with a crown. Second one is also huge. His knees are bent backwards and he has deer horns. Third has a woman's proportions and has goat horns. Fourth looks like a normal dude with a gun. We can hear a chorus of laughter and cheering coming from around us. Khan asks Vlad if he's checked his back. We all turn around. There is this dried up, tall person, basically a fucking skeleton, behind Vlad. It gets scared away by the fire and retreats into the fog. There's multiple of them and they keep trying to jump at us. Khan calls them failures. We come across a rabbit. Khan instantly grabs and kills it. He raises the rabbit into the air and says something in his language. We can hear a bit of booing and groaning coming from around us. Then a deer's silhouette comes next to the other silhouettes. The one with deer horns grabs it by the head and snaps its neck. It throws the deer to Khan's legs. Khan tells us to bow down and repeat after him. We do it. The silhouettes disappear and the fog starts to clear up. We find our campsite a few hundred meters away. Khan takes the deer and rabbit with him. We come back to the station. Andrew and Vlad are discussing what to say in their report. Khan tells them to write out the report as if everything was normal, but to recommend him for hire in the field. So that's what they do. And Khan works and lives over there from now on.
I want to tell a few cool stories from the fishermen of Yakutia. Now there are 4 islands of the coast where most of these legends happen. First is the strider. The strider is a creature with 2 legs, completely white, and it strides on ice, go figure. Many fishermen have seen it from a distance, but that's about it. One guy though, Peter let's call him. He claims to have seen the strider up close and personal. So be him in 2001. He's fishing at the coast of Kotelny Island. The boat he's on has some sort of malfunction, so they let it drift while they fix it. They drift near the ice, and because this is Siberia they anchor down and decide to walk on it. So Peter's just walking around, and from this slight crack in the ice 2 sharp appendages come out. They hook onto the ice and the rest of its body rises up from the water. From up close he described the strider to be crustacean-like. He estimated it being 3 meters high. It of course had 2 huge legs and also had those weird lobster fins behind them. And finally it had a long proboscis. It walked right past them. It then used its proboscis to catch a bird right out of the air. It keeps walking until it's out of sight. I ask why doesn't it just catch fish? Another fisherman then tells me it's afraid of the orcas. Tells me he's seen orcas play with something really similar to the strider's legs. When the orcas come out it goes on the ice to avoid them. Also tells how the proboscis thing explains many fishermen finding hollowed out seals, fish and birds. Second is the Bermuda Square. It's the nickname for an area between New Siberia, Long Island, Sokof Island and Vilkitsky Island. In this area at random points a sound very similar to a whale's song can be heard. If you are hearing this sound you must not touch ice with bare skin. If you do you die. A local described it like this. This one guy had a knack for breaking icicles. So they're out in the water and hear the sound. Everyone stops what they're doing. Guy gets nervous and the first icicle he found he tried to break. As soon as he touched it guy turned blue and collapsed. Then the song stopped. He told that another boat was fishing while it was lightly snowing. As soon as the song started half of that ship's crew died. And nomads don't know shit about this. It's quite a recent thing with the earliest sighting I know of happening in 1979. Third is the imposters. Sometimes fishermen who weren't there will show up on the boat for a bit and disappear. And they'll act like everything is completely normal. There might have been hundreds of ships with an imposter on them and people just wouldn't notice. Fourth is a bit cheaty cause it didn't happen in Yakutia, but who cares? 2012. Levik, as I'll call him, works for this Russian oil corp. If I'm not mistaken it might have been Lukoil. Levik is stationed on a tanker led by an icebreaker. They're in the middle of the ocean maybe 300 kilometers away from Eviliv Island. Their radar picks up something huge nearing the ship. An object approximately 200 meters in length. It swims past them. Levik swears he saw a huge bump surface in the icebreaker's trail. After that the journey carries on as normal, but radar keeps picking something up at random intervals. It really gets on the captain's nerves, so one of the crew members suggests letting a camera down to see what's there. They see that a long serpentine organism is latched onto the ship. Thing has giant eyes like a squid, but the fins and body of a shark. Guys from the icebreaker suggest using electricity. It manages to get the creature off and journey continues without issues.
This is gonna be the last story I tell. Old folks have a popular legend. It's about a Soviet black site. It was being built during the 90s, but the dissolution of the Union stopped construction. Some people say that the black site was actually finished. Say that they've seen American, Chinese, Turkish and Kazakh vehicles visit it. People disagree on where it exactly is, but most say it's somewhere in the Ust-Nera mountains. There are stories of lights in the sky, unknown crafts and vehicles, monsters, even nuclear accidents. My favorite one is about a man who showed up at Arctic. This guy could punch through walls and run as fast as a car. Dude rampaged in the town till the government put him down. Speaking of the government, in 2015 something piqued their interest. The army and other government forces started showing up all over. A few days before that, Ivan had made the taxes go up by tenfold. The government's presence here interfered with our local economy. I never realized just how shit money could get until the ruble was standardized here. Most people say they came here for gas. While that's most likely true, they keep messing with the paranormal shit out here. At one point saw them throwing shit at the spiral hole. I don't like. Ivan is gone and has been replaced by a bunch thugs. Never thought I'd miss Ivan. All these things were getting on my nerves, but the thing that pushed me over was this. It's 5 a.m. and everyone wakes to siren blaring and a guy with a megaphone telling us,
"Stay inside until directed otherwise. If you leave your home you will receive a fine of 24k rubles.
That's when I decided to immigrate. 3 years later I received a call from Igor. He updates me on the town. Says that since the government came everything's gone to shit. Vlad, Igor and Mikhail all left for the big cities. But before they left a bunch of weird shit happened. First everyone in Nichalik disappeared for about a week then just reappeared. Second the government kept ordering people to stay inside more frequently. Third every week on Friday 6 a.m. a loud-ass horn would play. Fourth the thugs killed an innocent guy. Fifth one fucking guy, said he had spotted the flat man near the town. This set the whole of City 5 into an uproar. Both Igor's and Andrew's families left for Novosibirsk. Then Vlad got fired, so he left. Igor recently decided to check up on Mikhail, but couldn't find him. No one in town knew where he had gone. Igor said that every city he goes to is fucking miserable to be in. Every town's got some loser thugs trying to tax people out of their homes. Also added that something was wrong with the place. Felt like something bad was gonna happen. Then one of the fucking checkpoints he goes to is completely empty and then another and another. 3 checkpoints empty on a main road. WTF. I really want to go back and check on Mikhail after this whole quarantine is over. But I don't know brothers, I'm kinda scared of what Igor told me. Early 2019. He calls me up. Says that most of the roads are shut down and guarded. No one can leave or enter. If they're going so far to isolate that place, what could be going on there?